Good evening and welcome to the City of Burnside's first monthly council meeting for 2026, and we welcome you all here and online to this meeting on the 27th of January. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today, and we welcome other First Nations people to our meeting. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe. We seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Finally, I ask that you remain standing as we remember with a minute's silence those lives lost in Bondi on December the 14th, 2025. There is no place for racism in Australia today. Please be seated. Since it has been a while, just a few reminders for members. Please use your speakers to record you wish to speak and wait until I call you to do so. Turn off your microphone when you finish speaking. Listen to the person speaking and show respect for the comments made and those who make them. Tonight we have a very large agenda with a presentation and 2 deputations. So I seek your support with this and of course additional motions at the end of the meeting. Now to the agenda. Absences, we have an apology from Paul Hubel. Declaration of interest, to just remind you that if at some point at the time before a motion or we've got the clock working now. I was having to use my phone. Yes, if there are any declarations, I'll take them at the time of the motion or the report that we're discussing. Confirmation of minutes. I need a mover to confirm the minutes. Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Turnbull. All those in favour of those 2 sets of minutes? Thank you. We have a presentation this evening from Peter Mazarapis from Brownhill Creek Scheme. So I'd please welcome you to the City of Burnside. It's been a few years since you've been here before and had a chat with us and different faces around the table, so appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, and thanks for inviting me back to present. It has been a couple of years since I've been here, so we've had a lot change on the project in that time. And I will apologise in advance. I had influenza in November and I'm still coughing, so I might need to struggle my way through speaking with lots of water. But we do have a presentation on the screen, if we maybe move to the first slide. I always like to start by providing our catchment map, just because the Brownhill-Cassie Creek catchment does cover a fairly significant area of both rural and urban spaces, approximately 70 square kilometres, which spans across large portions of the cities of Adelaide, Burnside, Mitcham, Unley and West Torrens. The board was established as a regional subsidiary of the 5 councils in 2018, and we exist to deliver this project on behalf of the 5 councils, and our governance structure requires that I report to the board. We have an owners executive committee that comprises a representative of each of the 5 councils and of course an audit and risk committee. we can move on to the next slide. I last presented to you in December of 2023. I thought it was last year, but it was a couple of years before that. We had some queries raised around the works that we were delivering and how those works change across the different stages of our project. And so that was the main focus of that presentation back in 2023. We also spoke about the history of the project, our structure for capital funding, and various other items. And those slides are obviously still available if anybody did want to refresh their memory on those things. These figures are extracted from our 2021 business case and provide a good snapshot of the benefits that our project offers. A lot has changed in the last 5 years since that business case was prepared, and we are in the process of updating those figures at the moment, particularly around the flood damage estimates that you see as the $418.5 million. Obviously, since COVID, construction costs have increased quite significantly, and we want to be accurately reflecting the flood damages that would arise from a significant flood in the catchment. Our project is spoken about in terms of 4 key stages. Stage 1, which you can see with the black circles on the right-hand side of the screen, our flood detention works, and those works are aimed at detaining flows and controlling flows downstream. The purple and orange lines that you see comprise the majority of Brown Hill Creek, lower and upper Brown Hill Creeks, and we're essentially doubling the capacity of the entirety of that creek network. And stage 3, which is the Keswick Creek flow diversions, is shown with red dotted line in the centre, and that's the stage of the project that is at this stage unfunded. Now, I have a quick kind of picture that gives a snapshot of where we're up to with each of those 4 stages. Our stage 1 flood detention works are complete and comprise the Ridge Park Dam, the Glenside Detention Basin and the Victoria Park wetland, along with some creek works in Blue Gum Park in the South Parklands. Stage 2, being Lower Brown Hill Creek, we talk about stage 2 in terms of 5 individual packages of work. Packages 1, 2 and 3 have recently been completed with the assistance of $10 million of Commonwealth Government grant funding that came under the Preparing Australian Communities program, and we're preparing to start design on packages 4 and 5 at the moment. Stage 3 is the Keswick Creek flow diversions, which I mentioned is on hold and unfunded at the moment, and stage 3 is a really vital part of the entirety of our project because it provides 40% of the flood protection benefits alone, and with stages 1 and 2 provides 80% of those flood protection benefits. So we are currently continuing to pursue Commonwealth Government funding that will allow us to deliver stage 3. And our stage 4 capital works, so this is the doubling of the capacity of Upper Brown Hill Creek, which extends upstream from Anzac Highway. And you can see, 10 individual numbers dotted along that creek. The first 5 are completed packages of work. We have a few that are currently in the pre-construction stage, and a couple of packages in the City of Mitcham which have recently started construction. So just some of our key milestones as we move into 2026. We've delivered over $60 million in infrastructure across the project. Stage 1 works are completed. Stage 2 is around 50% complete, and we're currently delivering on key locations within stage 4. We've also secured $21.6 million in Commonwealth funding to date. And that pursuit for funding does continue. We actually have a pre-budget submission going to the Commonwealth this week. It's due on the 30th of January, and we do continue to pursue grant opportunities as they become available. We were successful in achieving some funding under rounds 1 and 2 of the Disaster Ready Fund. We didn't achieve any funds under round 3, but we still have rounds 4 and 5 to go, and we're hoping there'll be another round of the Urban Rivers and Catchments program as well. So this slide, I won't go through in any particular detail, but it's just to kind of give a snapshot of what the board's activities have been focused on in recent months. Obviously, evaluating performance from the 2024-25 financial year, focusing on delivery of our 2025-26 Capital Works program, and also planning for 2026-27. The board will consider our draft budget for financial year 27 next month, and that will then be provided on to the constituent councils for their consideration and feedback. One of our big changes in 2025 was to the composition of the board's Audit and Risk Committee. Until recently, the Audit and Risk Committee comprised one independent member along with 4 board member representatives. And last year, the board and Owners Executive Committee endorsed a proposal to amend that composition so that the Audit and Risk Committee now comprises 3 independent members and only 2 board member representatives. Those 3 independent members had their first meeting toward the end of last year, so we're looking forward to seeing some kind of fresh ideas around that table. An important initiative that we've been working on at an operational level is development of a best practice operating procedure, or a BPOP, for safety fences and barriers. Delivery of our capital works program does obviously come with ongoing risk around safety, and those 2 risks have been, I suppose, confirmed as being the serious risk of injury from people falling from heights into the channel and risk of drowning from deep or fast-flowing waters. We wanted to make sure we had a framework in place that ensured consistent application of rules around safety fencing and barriers across the entirety of our project. And so over the last couple of years, we've been developing quite a detailed BPOP that essentially governs all of our capital works and ensures that the same rules are applied everywhere, regardless of whether those works are being delivered on private or public land. And if we have a look at the next picture, I've got some examples you can see on the left-hand side. We've got a photo of the Hawthorn Reserve, so near Mitcham Library at the top and the wetland at the bottom, where quite naturalised, kind of laid-back banks and heavily vegetated areas are being delivered. And those types of projects obviously don't need for safety fencing because of the batter slopes that we're achieving and the fact that the vegetation prohibits people from entering the water. And if people do want to enter the water in those locations, they really have to work to get there. Whereas on the right-hand side, you can see quite steep vertical walls, and those 2 photos are from a private property in Millswood, where obviously safety fencing is required to ensure there is no risk of fall into the channel. We're also working on a whole of catchment flood model at the moment. We received some Commonwealth Government funding last year under round 2 of the Disaster Ready Fund to deliver this project. At the whole of catchment model that we are delivering will include scenarios that account for climate change and urban infill development, which is something the previous flood model didn't do. And it will also take into account councils' drainage systems. We're now in a position where each of our 5 constituent councils have their own modelling that can feed into our whole of catchment flood model. And we are considering various scenarios that will equip the board and our 5 councils with information to properly inform the community about flood risk. So we're expecting that flood model to be completed toward the middle of the year, and then we'll obviously feed back the results of that model to the constituent councils via our Owners Executive Committee.
Would you like to just refresh everyone's memories about who those constituent councils are?
Yeah, sure. Of course, so cities of Adelaide, Burnside, Mitcham, Unley and West Torrens. And the last item I wanted to talk about was our charter review, which has also been ongoing over the last couple of years. We've been engaging with the board and the Owners Executive Committee about a review of the board's charter, and I understand there was an initial briefing to council, so that will probably be on your radar, but we are in the final stages of that review. I have a workshop in a couple of weeks, and we'll then have a final report that will come back to each of the councils for their endorsement. City of Burnside have obviously fed into that charter review and provided feedback via our OEC rep and your legal advisors, and all of the feedback that's been received from council has been taken into account, and some adjustments have been made to the charter on the basis of that. And just to finish up, I have a few photos just of the works we've had underway over the past couple of years. So this is a section of channel just upstream of Marion Road, so part of the Lower Brown Hill Creek upgrades. And this is a location where the City of West Torrens has a 6 to 9 metre wide drainage channel that previously held a trapezoidal-shaped 100-year-old concrete channel. We're replacing that with a much larger rectangular concrete channel and delivering that in a way that allows City of West Torrens to achieve vegetation and tree canopy cover in future years. City of West Torrens' shared pathway project isn't part of our works delivery, but we've worked with Council to ensure we're delivering in a way that they can then build upon. And these next photos are of that same project. The photo on the left, you can see the channel as it runs beneath Marion Road, which is obviously quite a complicated portion to deliver, with each direction of traffic needing to be closed for various works stages. And then obviously people in the channel working on the right-hand side. And this portion of the project is part of stage 4. So this is within one of the residential properties in Upper Brownhill Creek. So this is in Millswood. And you can see in this location the transition as we move from one property at the bottom of the screen to a different property at the top of the screen, and how we really work with each individual property owner to ensure that we're delivering the channel upgrade in a way that is complementary to their unique circumstances. Some property owners have a particular focus on ensuring they, maximise their usable yard area. Other property owners want to lay back the banks and, incorporate vegetation into the overbank areas. So we do have various design solutions, and so far have been able to transition quite nicely from one property to the next to ensure that each owner is getting some nice outcomes within their yard. And this is just a couple more photos of that same project. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Jones.
Can I first ask a question about Glen Osmond? Now, my understanding that work was to be done at the end of the project. Does that mean you've brought it forward and it's done?
Glen Osmond, no. So Glen Osmond, when we talk about our 4 stages of work, stage 4, we refer to it as Upper Brownhill Creek because that's 99% of it.
Right.
But the Glen Osmond Creek works form part of stage 4 for us.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
What happens if you can't get the money from the Commonwealth?
Yeah.
Will you just give up, or will you come to councils looking for money?
Yeah, so we had a roundtable workshop back in 2023, and that was essentially the primary question of that workshop. We had other things that we worked through as well, but the focus of that workshop was what happens when the money runs out. That was our primary question. And it's really up to the Owners Executive Committee and the 5 constituent councils to advise us on how they would like us to act. So we took a position as an outcome of that workshop that stage 3 would be parked as the unfunded stage of the project. And the main reason for that is because stage 3 doesn't align closely with grant funding opportunities. Stages 4 and 2 in particular do align with grant programs, and that's where we can maximise our chances of achieving Commonwealth funding as we're delivering. But our pre-budget submission that we're lodging this week is our first real move toward achieving a larger bucket of money that will see the entirety of stage 3 delivered. So over the next 12 months, I think we'll have a much clearer indication of whether those attempts are going to be successful, and depending on what the outcome of that is, we'll go back to the Owners Executive Committee for feedback on whether our strategy and our approach needs to change track, or whether we need to continue delivering stages 2 and 4. And it really depends on the outcome of that pre-budget submission.
Thank you. Councillor Henschke.
Thank you very much.
No problems.
When the project started, there was consideration of climate change, of course, but now there is, revised flood, estimates for climate change. So is that going to also be incorporated in the new flood map that you'll be producing, this new revised probable maximum flood, etc.? Thank you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So our main focus of our whole of catchment flood model is that we take into account councils' drainage schemes and the mapping that each of the councils have prepared for their local drainage networks, and we take into account that more recent climate change and urban infill development and rainfall data. So the whole of catchment flood model we're working on at the moment is very focused on ensuring we're using the latest up-to-date data and looking at not just our current day situation, but where we're going to be in 50 and 100 years' time.
Thank you.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for coming in. Often commuting down the Birdwood Avenue or West Side bike path, there's you can see the sort of Jekyll and Hyde of one side where it's all cement culvert and the other side is a dirt creek. And that's where your future funding is needed, because that seems like it's a bit of a bottleneck for when the next 100-year amount of water comes down from the lofty ranges.
Yeah, correct. So if you look back to the stage 2 map that we had up on the screen earlier, the packages 1, 2 and 3 that we have delivered are the concrete section that you're referring to, and the dirt creek on the other side is package 4 and 5, which we're designing at the moment. So our intention is to continue on with what we've delivered up to Birdwood Terrace towards Anzac Highway, so that we achieve that doubling of the capacity along the entirety of Lower Brown Hill Creek. So we're working on the design of that section upstream of Birdwood at the moment.
Councillor Dawes.
South Road tunnels, and I've seen a lot of correspondence between you and the state government and who's responsible for what. Has that been resolved as yet? And I can't quite work out with the tunnels going in. Do you have a viaduct coming over with the water, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we have been engaging with the Department for Transport for many years through various iterations, and obviously their design plans have changed over the years as well. As part of our project, Brown Hill Creek does run beneath South Road at the moment via a culvert, and that culvert is of sufficient size to take the flows that we are designing to, so we don't actually need to upgrade the culvert beneath South Road as part of our project. But of course the Department for Transport does need to replace that culvert as part of their works. So the tunnel motorway doesn't actually intersect with where that culvert is. The Department for Transport is proposing to align it slightly, so it will sit in a slightly different location, but we're working quite closely with them to ensure their design plans align with ours.
Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Do all councils contribute equally with regards to finance?
In terms of operational expenses, the 5 councils contribute equally. In terms of capital expenses, no, they don't. The board's charter defines the percentage contribution to capital works from each of the councils. The City of West Torrens pays the lion's share at 49%, followed by City of Unley at 21%. City of Burnside is 12%, City of Mitcham is 10%, and City of Adelaide is 8%. And those percentages were determined prior to my time and prior to the board being established between the 5 councils, and they're based upon the extent to which each council area contributes to the flood problem, and also the extent to which each council area will benefit from the solution.
Thank you. And follow-up question, if I may. Do all councils have a representative on the board, or?
No, so the board is an entirely independent board.
Is there a representation by councils? Probably be the better way to say it.
Sure. 5 independent board members, but we do have an owners executive committee. So Barry Cant is City of Burnside's representative on the owners executive committee at the moment, and that has changed over the years. But each of the 5 councils do have a representative on that owners executive committee, which is either the CEO or a delegate of the CEO.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Sorry, I'm still not clear, going back to my earlier question. If the money runs out, can council be compelled to pay money to build these works in West Torrens and Unley, or can we just say, no, we're not interested?
That's a decision that would be made by the 5 councils. That's not a decision for me or for the board. If the money runs out and the project is incomplete, then it will be up to the 5 councils. They can't be compelled. The charter doesn't compel any council to contribute more funds than what have been committed. We're working on the basis that we have $70 million commitment from the councils and $70 million from the state government. Any change to that assumption would need to be agreed by the councils.
So it needs unanimous approval. We can't be outvoted.
I don't know that it needs, well, I believe that any council that's being asked to contribute funds would need to approve their contribution of funds. I think it's probably a question for the lawyers who prepared the charter more than myself, but we're working on the basis that we have $70 million commitment from the 5 councils, and that there is a shortfall that we're seeking to fill from the Commonwealth.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for all the birds are just loving the water in the parklands, I can imagine. So a question about the bird life, and I suppose the Adelaide University bird people are looking at this bird increase going on around there, which is amazing. So yeah, very positive.
Yeah, we have We have a particular focus where we are delivering in public open space and in council reserves on ensuring that we are achieving those environmental and biodiversity outcomes, because we do have certain areas of, obviously, of the creek network where we are very heavily constrained on what we can deliver. So where we have an opportunity to achieve those outcomes is definitely a focus.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for coming in this evening and doing this presentation. If any of the councillors still have questions, they can obviously email them to Julia, and then those questions can be answered at a later stage. All right. Thank you very much for coming in. It's been really good to catch up again after a few years.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
And the first one is from Mr. Peter Harrington. And what I didn't mention to the two deputies this evening, once you've finished your deputation, remain seated at the table, because their councillors may have some questions they wish to ask you. Right? So when you're ready, you can press the speaker button to start.
Good evening. Firstly, may I thank you for the opportunity to address Council tonight. It's greatly appreciated. I apologise for wearing thongs.
Sorry, can you just mention your name and suburb?
Peter Harrington at Burnside. I apologise for wearing thongs tonight. I cannot fit shoes on my feet. I've been suffering edema for 2 years, thanks to medication given to me by a government doctor when I was suffering anxiety for 7 years. So for 7 years you didn't see or hear from me. Tonight I'm addressing only the issues of speeding in our streets and the residential suburbs of Burnside in particular, that quadrant between Greenhill Road and Glenburn Road under the auspices of the Sturt Police, not the Norwood Police, which is quite strange. I have copies, which I won't be presenting tonight, of letters sent by both Senior Sergeant Josh O'Dwyer and Jack Batty to the CEO in August of 25, asking her to fix and address the speeding in the streets, namely Royal Avenue, Kings Avenue, Wyatt Road, Waterfall Terrace, and also Waterfall Gully Road, but that hasn't been actually clearly identified. I'm 73 years of age and have lived in the Burnside Council all my life. I have lived in Kings Avenue since 1990 and have first-hand knowledge of speeding in our streets. I'm well known for putting corflute signs in my driveway, some of whom I have caused problems with, one being quite provocative, but I won't share that tonight. The problem is getting worse, and it's supported by the residents of those streets involved. I letter dropped all those people who were concerned. Unfortunately, due to the apathy of our residents, we've got many people not here tonight, only about a handful I can see, which is a reflection on the council itself, not the council, sorry, the residents of Burnside, because we've got 46,000 people in council, in the Burnside electorate, and only 4,500 bothered to vote at the last elections, which is a shame, 10%. The South Australian Police and our local member, Jack Batty, are aware of my concerns and indeed of the residents, and they are aware of my address tonight. Also, the Advertiser and Channel 7 are aware of my presence tonight. This is a serious matter, and since I came back from my problems with anxiety, I had a lot of support from my sister and other people who I won't mention. But we need traffic lights to replace the chaotic roundabout at the Feathers Hotel intersection. I've been told by Mr. Harvey Jones that the government won't do that, not the council. I thought it was the other way around. So I appreciate the fact that the council may choose to do that. This is the cause of the rat running, quote, not my words, but the words of the police and Jack Batty, and this would avoid all this chaos. I appreciate the fact there was a pedestrian crossing put down near the Hazelwood Park pool for people using the park. That could have been also done better by putting traffic lights at the roundabout, where people could then use that traffic light area to access the park itself. Now, I was told in 2024, by the way, if you were to use Glenburn Road, Greenhill Road, that intersection, anywhere during peak hour, Monday to Friday, from 7:30 till 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock till 5:30 p.m, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because the chaos and the bottlenecks that occur, and it's getting worse. I was told in 2024 that there was data saying that these are only secondary roads I'm referring to. And I asked Mr. Kashkar-Karti, I said, how old is this data? He said, 7 years. I said, sir, things have changed in 7 years. He did not know the area or the streets. 1 minute. I've been trying for the last 3 years to fix this problem. Now I have support. I have had cork-flute signs in my driveway, I've mentioned that. I've been threatened, abused and given the bird on many occasions by people using our streets. I haven't resorted to spraying with a hose, which I know Jim Elder used to do up at Waterfall Gully Road, and got away with it after having many incidents of fisticuffs. Many of the people are regular offenders, some of whom I know where they live, not a threat because I wouldn't go knocking on their door. Police cannot and will not act unless they have evidence. How the hell can you get evidence of people speeding up the street at night at 1 o'clock in the morning, not worrying at all about the 50k zone, which is not signed? And the only two signs that exist in the whole quadrant between Greenhill Road and Glenburn Road are 2 by 60k zones just up past Ballabooster as you head up Greenhill Road towards Sunnyside Road. Another 150 metres up, you get another one. There's not one other sign in the whole quadrant. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the second bell. Thank you. I just need to correct something that you did say. That intersection of Greenhill Road and Glenburn Road does not belong to the city of Burnside.
No, I said that.
I thought I misunderstood. I think I misunderstood.
No, Harvey told me at a meet the pack, meet Mr.
Yeah, that's
Jack.
fine. That's fine. I just wanted to make it clear that everyone knew that we don't have any control over that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Questions? Anyone, please? Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. What ideas do you have to address the issue of speeding in your area?
I've got quite a few written down, which I wish I'd had more time. But firstly, it would be really good to have the whole area rezoned to 40 kilometres an hour and signed appropriately, because at the moment we've got 2 signs in the whole quadrant, and that's a lot of people. So 40k signs would be a start, signs. But that won't stop the speeding, all right? People ignore the speeding, they ignore the speed limit, they ignore the fact that we've got 20 kids in our street alone that go to Burnside Primary and other schools, and half the people causing the problem in the morning are mums and dads with kids in the back seat, tearing down Wyatt Road and Kings Avenue and then rat running to avoid the roundabout at the Feathers intersection. And they are the major problem. And at night, people coming home from work are just as bad because they're racing home, they don't want to spoil dinner. So I witnessed this for the last 3 years. For 7 years prior to that, I was locked in my house and I couldn't leave my front gates. It was only then, obviously in 2024, I'm not on medication, by the way, for anything. And I've just been accepted by Beyond Blue to become an ambassador for Beyond Blue, starting with induction training next month.
Mr. Harrington, just focus on what you're answering the question, okay?
Yeah, so I'm just letting you know that I'm a very clear, sound mind now. I have no habit, no problems with anxiety and depression. I've been through both, but I'm clear of that. So firstly, signage. Secondly, maybe some speed restriction barriers across the road, not using the word humps because people don't like the word humps, but perhaps a small bitumen raised area, suitably signed like they do at Verdale Avenue down the road by ITR, when there's 2 speed humps and a roundabout in the space of 150 metres in a street that takes no traffic. Also, I suggested that perhaps somebody, I used to do this with my brother-in-law, laying 6-foot diameter concrete stormwater pipe. What would make a very cheap roundabout would be to cut off a metre section of stormwater pipe, stick it in the middle of the road, fill it with dirt and put some plants and a tree in it. Very cheap way of setting up a roundabout without really major problems. I used to do this with my brother-in-law at Prospect. We did single chicane, also a good idea, with brick pavers like they have in Cuthero Terrace and Beulah Road at Orange Grove intersection. Also, single lane chicanes to stop people speeding would be another way. That would be a start, because at the moment there's nothing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr Harrington, for coming in. We have a subsequent deputation on a similar issue. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you once again for listening.
And I'll ask for, I forgot to check the name, for Ms Clelia Warren to come forward.
Hello, I'm Clelia Warren, also of Burnside, and I have the same issue as well with Royal Avenue. We moved in there in September 2024. Within 5 months, there were 3 vehicles that had their side mirrors clipped and taken off and damaged. One of them was my own car, and another car significantly damaged within that time as well. And my email to council was ignored about the incident, and a follow-up email was ignored. And then when I contacted Jack Batty, he was able to get a response, and I was directed to a report that stated in August 2023 that there was a traffic report that recorded 85% speed of 43 kilometres an hour. Well, I didn't know about this study, and I contacted the council just on my own observations in such a short time. So I would like the speed limit changed to 40 at least, 40 kilometres an hour, which may encourage drivers to do 30, but keeping it at 50 is making it unsafe and dangerous. And yeah, I didn't really know about the history in the street until I started to ask, the other residents, and oh yeah, we've been debating this for a long time, nothing happens. Well, I think something maybe should happen. So, more cars getting damaged maybe, but, I'll keep following it up, but yeah. I just think that there's something should be done.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along tonight, and to Mr Harrington as well, to raise this issue. Not to demean your problems, it's an issue that we're being confronted with right across the suburbs. Have you thought to put together a petition of exactly what you'd like council to do?
Happy to do
and then because that's quite a powerful tool,
okay.
And if you can gather all the supporters in the area, that would be a very positive outcome to get. And you could put on that what outcome you would like in terms of the 40k, and then it's because we have increasingly got those zones around the city of Burnside. So that would be my suggestion, which would be taken very seriously by council. Not that you're not,
no,
but that's a strong, powerful tool.
I think what happens is that they come round the blind corner, and there's a 25-kilometre sign there that's shrouded by trees, so it's not very clear. And then they just gather up speed. And then that's where, and I too have heard the traffic late at night, screaming up the road. So, yeah, okay. But I'm happy to do that, for sure.
Councillor Dawes.
Hello,
Hello.
Clelia. I want to just repeat there what Councillor Davies said, because that was spot on on where we sit. The speeding, I'm guessing it comes from higher up Royal Avenue and comes down.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And I think that they're very high-quality vehicles, and they're very loud, so you do hear them. I mean, I have no idea what the speed limit is, but it sounds very fast, and I can't race out there, and there's nothing I can do. I don't know what their speed is.
Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Good evening, thank you very much. Do you and the community know about Traffic Watch, which is a SAPOL site, and that's where that's where the police will, the more they hear about speeding, they'll bring the cameras out and that sort of thing. So that's something to encourage. Yeah, if you're aware of it. Yeah, thank you.
I'll look into it. Thank you.
Since there are no other questions, I'll thank you also for coming in this evening, and I'm assuming some of the gallery are here for the same reason tonight as well, so thank you for coming in. And it is always we're always happy to hear from you, and the suggestion for a petition is a very good one.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Now we'll move to the reports, and I will go through them and seek find out if you wish to withdraw them or whether you wish to vote on them immediately. So the first one is 11.1, the open space plan. Councillor Davey,
Thank you.
I'm assuming you wish to withdraw it. Portion of Main Avenue, Frueville. Councillor Wilkins,
Thank you.
you wish to withdraw it. Advocacy for legislative reform. Councillor Harvey. CEO Review Committee minutes. Do I have someone who wishes to move that? Councillor Dawes. Seconded by Councillor Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Finance end of month report. Do I have you wishing to move it, Councillor Turnbull?
Just to move it, yes, thank you.
Move it, okay. Moved by Councillor Turnbull, seconded by Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The 11.6, the public art piece at Alexandra Avenue and Prescott Terrace. I seek a mover, or are you wishing to withdraw it, Councillor Wilkins?
I'll move.
You'd like to move it? All right, seconded by...
I'm going to speak
Clarify,
to it.
you wish to speak to it,
Yes,
so
I
you
do.
wish to withdraw it.
Sorry, confused me. Person on the right.
Mayor's activity report. Councillor Wilkins, can you turn your microphone off,
Sorry.
please? Mayor's report. Councillor Henschke, are you going to move it? Seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Chief Executive Officer's report. I seek a mover. Councillor Zing. Seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I must say that it's been very helpful this week when you've been sending a lot of questions in. That has helped us to get through this much more efficiently, so thank you for that. You have a copy of all the... sorry, we have to go back now to Councillor Davey, 11.1.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a slightly amended item. Slight amendment to this item. And that is that Council adopts the Burnside City Master Plan Open Space 2026-2041 in the form of the backgrounds and discussions paper, appendices and action plan presented in attachments 1 to 4 to report number 2025794. At number 2, an addition for completeness and good governance includes in the introduction on page 52 the list of applicable council policies as amended from time to time, which are listed separately in the report, plus the Hazelwood Park Conservation Management Plan of 2016. And 3, receives quarterly updates on the progress of the Open Space Plan 2026-2041 through the CEO report. There's been a huge amount of work over quite a few years that staff have put into this report, and it's a very significant and important piece of work which will be a blueprint for how we manage our crucial and highly valued open space. And it provides the references for all the drivers for this. So I thank all of those who've worked on its development and Holmes Dyer, who did the consultant's report. My amendment is just to include the full title of the document, because it's a 15-year-old document. We're going to be quoting it and citing it from time to time, and it's really useful to me, I guess, as a public servant, to have, retired public servant, to have a time frame. I also think while the relevant strategies and policies are included in the report, I think it's really good governance to actually have it included in the actual paper. So that's all I'm asking for. It's all of the myriad policies which are amended from time to time, and strategies, but they're necessary for cross-referencing and also to help us help you administer the document, and also in budget time it really helps us with allocation of funds. So it's pretty straightforward. Well done to get the huge document to this stage, and we've just now got to allocate the funds to get it all done. So I hope everyone will support this amendment and, yes, keep it going and underway now. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke, are you wishing to second it?
Question, sorry.
I need a seconder first. Councillor Turnbull, you're seconding?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, and I'll come back to you if you wish to speak later. All right. Now, Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, item 2 there, referencing a conservation management plan. It's referencing one conservation management plan, and my question is, how many conservation management plans does the council have, and should all of those plans be referenced in a general way as conservation management plans? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, there's a few management plans and conservation management plans that the council has throughout the city. For example, there's management plans at Belyet, there's conservation management plans at Michael Perry, for example. This plan is a strategic document which provides a holistic view and strategic view of the whole city's management and sets the criteria for how we assess the open space, the use of the open space, etc. It doesn't look to replicate those individual management plans itself. It'll complement those management plans. There's no harm in including them in the strategy itself, but there's no real need to do so because they will still be managed accordingly and they're published on Council's website.
Thank you.
Do you wish to speak now, Councillor Turnbull?
I have a question. May I ask questions? Page 31, my questions, both are on there. The word inclusion is used on playground strategy. Could you please tell me which playgrounds cater for children with physical disabilities? You know, we have 36 or 38 playgrounds, it depends which thing you look up. Which ones have things for children with physical disabilities?
Through the Mayor, I can think of a few. There's one in particular at Hazelwood Park. To provide you with a complete list, I'd have to take that on notice.
Take it on notice, thank you. My next question is also on page 31. It said only 15 respondents mentioned the skate park, with 7 supporting and 8 not. Isn't this a manipulation of the figures? Because it said we'll keep it in anyway. And why so few responses?
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor Turnbull. I think the Open Space Management Plan in its first round of consultation had much higher numbers, and so it's gone through quite a significant process which underpins good sound policy making. So it's not unusual when you go back with your final draft to seek where your numbers are reduced. There's no manipulation of numbers. I think when we get to a specific feedback with numbers such as 15 and you have 7 for or 8 against, it's not definitive enough, and the numbers aren't definitive enough to take something out or to put something in. So therefore it would be the best approach and sensible approach is to retain the item in there. And given this is a strategic document, it's not committing to a specific thing. It is including in the council's overarching planning that it may be something considered down the track, or it could be something that the community want. It may be something that we could be looking at regarding state government land and places like Conningham Street, which is also mentioned in the actual report. So in summary, the numbers were not compelling enough for us to remove regarding the skate park.
With due respect, it's happened before when it's been one difference and we've gone with the, we'll say, I think it was 6 to 5.
Excuse me, this is not a question anymore.
Okay.
Are you debating?
I'd
Well,
like to know
okay,
the answer.
I'll let you finish the question.
We've had it before where it was 6 to 5 and the 6 is 1 over the 5. It was one difference. So I can't see why this one isn't the same. 7 to 8, 8 say no. Why is it put in as fait accompli?
Through the Mayor, with all due respect, Councillor Turnbull, I'm not sure which you're referring to specifically around the 6 or the 5. But I think the numbers are enough for us to actually have enough certainty around retaining an element that has gone into the strategic plan. We also know that obviously there are significant numbers in the community who are opposed to skate parks, but there are also significant numbers who support skate parks. So I think the sound and most balanced approach is to retain it in part of an open space strategic plan. But that does not commit this council or any future councils to actually funding or attributing budget. This is not saying yes to a skate park. It is basically saying it is part of a strategic planning document for planning ahead.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While we're talking about skate parks, if you hop onto page 147, the data tells me for 53,608 people planned, we'll need 2 skate parks. Just putting it out there. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
This question, if I may. There's not much point having a plan and then leaving it to sit on a shelf. So what's the kind of range of expenditure we're up for? 2016, 26 to 41, were we to actually execute this plan?
Through the Mayor, it's difficult to answer that question because the action plan, as Julia said, is focusing on a number of areas that actually asks a question or considers an option. You may upgrade Langman Reserve at some stage in the future. You may upgrade that with trees. You may upgrade that with a skate park or a large play space or different type of recreational use. I can't give you an answer when there's such a varied outcome that might be used throughout this entire life of the plan. However, as part of the budget process that we're going through just now, we have indicated those actions that we would like to commence within the first year of the plan, once it's adopted, and that will be considered by Council in the upcoming budget process. We are trying to do as much of the investigation in-house as possible and relying less on consultants where possible, but there will be some expenditure required, and that information will be provided to you through the budget process as it comes.
Councillor Will.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pleased to support the motion on the screen, the alternate motion, because I think I'm happy to go with the open space plan that you've put up as the strategic document. But when it comes to individual things in our own communities that we are quite passionate about and the community wants some improvement in, I don't want to be denied the opportunity to debate that particular, whatever it is, whether it be public schools or Conningham Street or trees or heritage. I don't want everything to come back to the open space plan as a fait accompli, and we can't go into discussion about improving upon what you've already got in here. This is the basis as far as I'm concerned, and it can be built on. Am I correct?
Through the Mayor, that's a good summary of the entire action plan and the strategic document. For example, to continue on Julia's comment about the skate park discussion, what we're saying there is propose to keep the actions in the open space for this item. This reflects the fact that the proposed action is strongly focused on consulting with the community to help find a balanced resolution to this gap. And that's similar to a lot of the actions that are identified through this entire plan, which would be subject to quarterly updates through the CEO report. It would be subject to an annual consideration through the annual business plan and budget process and consultation where required.
Thank you, thank you. Because really important, sorry, can I continue just for a second? I was actually speaking to the motion.
Right.
I just want a clarification. Because the whole premise is open space. To me, open space is important, not only to me, but all the residents in the community as well. We do not want it chocked up with things. Open space, greenery, trees, community is what is important. So for these reasons, I'm happy to support Councillor Davies' motions. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
Question through the Mayor for the administration. Thank you. On page 62, it talks about the Adelaide Parklands and how the Adelaide Parklands strategy interfaces with the City of Burnside. The question is, will our advocacy plan for a pedestrian crossing on Fullerton Road be the same thing that's mentioned here, that to create new and enhance existing nodes along key pedestrian access points and strengthen connectivity into the city from neighbouring suburbs? Is that the same as what's in our advocacy plan for access from Rose Park into the and Dulwich into the parklands? Because at the moment there's no safe refuge for crossing. Or are we talking about something different here? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor Henschke. They are basically the same. We're looking, there are two elements. This talks about biodiversity corridors as well, but we are actually talking about a physical pedestrian, and that was similar to also what we had provided to the State Commission Assessment Panel with regarding the ACH development as well, that actually when you have that open space, you have to have a safe ability for the community to access it.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. On page 81, 24 sporting, recreational and service clubs participated in the open space plan. Skate the East was included in this survey. My question is, are they recognised as a club as their response for a club was extremely low? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, we've listed there all of the clubs, community groups and service clubs who have responded, so I'm not sure whether you would classify them as a club or not, but they are an interest group or a local resident group who provided feedback, and we've listed them and included that as part of that process.
Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm getting confused in regard to the naming. We've got City Master Plans, Urban Form and Transport, City Master Plan, Regal Theatre, City Master Plan, Bicycle Network, and now this current revised recommendation they're looking at is to then change it from the open space plan to what the title is on the actual plan, which is Burnside City Master Plan, Open Space Plan. My experience is when I'm going through council's documents, strategic documents, to try and find something, if I'm looking at that, I'll start looking for where's the City Master Plan. And I don't know why we just don't call them Bicycle Network Plan, Open Space Plan, Transport, and why we put this master plan in front of it, because it makes you think there's something that exists that you can look up and everything will be collated in the one place. So that's why I'm looking for some explanation of why I should support calling it the Burnside City Master Plan Open Space Plan and not just the Open Space Plan.
Through the Mayor, we have been calling it the Open Space Plan to this point. However, technically, while it's reasonably wordy and cumbersome, we are considering this as the third layer of the generation of the City Master Plan itself. So we're trying to layer all of the different elements of the overall City Master Plan to have a holistic plan for the entire city's future, or the management of that. So the first couple, if you recall, were movement, traffic and precinct, and as well as the neighbourhood character and development. Now we're looking at the open space as the next fundamental layer as part of that. So technically it is all part of the City Master Plan, and we'll be able to represent that not only visually on our website, but also in our GIS layers and mapping as well.
So these are like volumes
Pretty
that
much.
make up?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So when Council first adopted the City Master Plan itself, we looked at the first 2 layers. This is the third, and there's several other layers that we're going to be looking at as well, community facilities, etc. as well.
Okay. And I've got one more question, please. And that relates to the point that Councillor Davey made in regard to adding in the Hazelwood Park Conservation Management Plan, because I note that Kensington Gardens has a management plan, but that's not mentioned in the... So what I'm trying to do is, should we just single out Hazelwood Park, or do we have to include all of them, or is it covered, I think, by what Councillor Leon Henschke said about that it's covered by having a broad description of the plans?
Through the Mayor, I'll let Councillor Davey, in summing up, explain why she's decided to choose that particular plan to include within the motion itself. But my response to Councillor Henschke remains. I believe that this is an encompassing overall holistic plan, and all of those management plans will work tandem inside with those, with specific management requirements for each of those specific reserves. That's a detail that this open space layer cannot get into.
That what, sorry?
This open space layer is too holistic and strategic. It can't get into the detail that management plans will get into, so they will still be relevant for each of those specific reserves.
Okay. So in your opinion, do we need to have specifically the Hazelwood Park?
In my opinion, no, we don't. It doesn't do any harm having it there, but it's not required.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Now, Councillor Jones.
This is kind of returning to my previous question. In the long-term financial plan, we currently set aside $2 million a year for new capital expenditure, roughly, once we get out beyond the specifically identified projects. Would it surprise you if, in order to execute this plan, and for example, we say we'll do a feasibility study on a new gym, but inevitably, if you do a feasibility study, the expectation is you might well want to build a new gym. So therefore, would you be surprised if our $2 million a year increased to $5, $6, $7, $8 million a year? I just want everyone to be very clear what they're signing up to, so that no one can say, oh, I didn't realise it's actually going to cost money to do this.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor Jones. All good levels of government plan for their future and plan for their cities, they plan for their communities. And you must have some strategic planning to have an idea of where you are going in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And my expectation is that if we were to deliver some of the actions in here, which is looking at purchasing or looking at opportunities that might come up to create green space in some of our communities where there is little access to green space, that it would not surprise me that the cost of implementing everything in this would go beyond the long-term financial plan as it currently stands. However, we always must actually look to other levels of funding and government, given the state government, and how much green space people should have access to. So for me, we need to make sure that we have access and we apply to every federal state grant. So you are correct, it may mean that we need to expend more than what we have got outlined in our long-term financial plan. But every local government must plan and must invest in their community for the future.
Councillor Davey, you have a question?
I just have a question, thanks. Would it be more appropriate to make a slight amendment to, with respect to the points raised about local management plans, to delete the Hazelwood Park Conservation Management Plan and put other local conservation management plans? Am I able to do that?
If your seconder approves.
Thank you, yes, well, I'm happy to amend it to say that plus
There's only an amendment.
at 2 and put plus any other local conservation management plans and delete 2016. And then that encompasses.
You just call management plans, yeah. Other management plans.
Okay, management plan, yes. So it reads, plus any other local council management plan. Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm happy, thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have an additional question to what Councillor Turnbull mentioned about the split with the respondents to the skate park, and due to the low number of responses and the near 50-50 split. I recall that we had a similar situation up at Penfold Park where a path was supported by 6 people and voted against by 5, and that was supported for the path to actually be put in at Penfold Park. Now, that was only a difference of one other vote, exactly like this, 7-8. So I'm struggling to understand
The purpose of this whole document.
No.
This document is supposed to be a strategic plan that that makes recommendations, and there are 14 of them in here, recommendations for the future development of open space in Burnside. Now, we could go through all of this list of 14, some of them we would agree with, some of them Councillor Jennings would agree with and he would not agree with. Some, Councillor Harvey, you would agree with and not agree with, but that's not the point of this document. This document, done by an independent organisation, actually went through and identified 14 different issues that are going to be issues for future councils, not even for us. I don't think I'm going to be here in 2041. However, future councils have to have a plan, and the CEO has actually explained that already. If you don't have a plan, and if you don't have identified areas of concern and recommendations, which these all are, all 14 of them, are able to be lobbied through government. And one of the things that I'm thinking of particularly is what we have to report on is the local housing strategy. I was told by the Minister that when we do our plan, the whole idea of the local housing strategy is also to identify all the problems that exist in relation to access to open space, schools, using schools for recreation, topographical limitations, imbalance in sporting infrastructure, linking habitat corridors. All the list of the 14 recommendations could actually be contributing to the government's understanding of what the problems are in relation to us trying to develop a housing strategy to suit their purposes. So I think that's really important that we look at this, we're not debating, yes, we're going to put a skate park in, or no, we're not going to put any more footpaths in. We're actually looking at supporting a massive, complex document or not supporting it, a massive, complex document that will set a blueprint for future decisions that councillors will make over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Without that plan, you cannot organise for the future.
Respectfully, Mayor, I am aware of what the open space plan actually means, but I'm questioning, as everybody else has been afforded questions, I'm just questioning why there was a precedent set between one prior, and now you're saying that because it was almost 50-50. That's all. I'm just asking the question. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor Harvey. I can't speak to that specific example. The difference is from hearing you speak and explain and ask the question is that was for a specific project. This is a strategic document, and so I can take the question on notice regarding that specific precedent around why we made a decision on that and come back for further advice to you. But with regard to a very strategic document, a long-term document, as mentioned earlier, I don't think the numbers are overwhelmingly indicating that we should remove that section. So on balance, we've taken that we retain it, and then eventually when any specific project comes back to the chamber, then obviously there'll be other consultation and data and numbers that will inform council decision making.
Councillor Turnbull, you haven't spoken yet to second. Would you like to speak now?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I think Councillor Wilkins summarised it very well. Open space is just that, and the CEO called it green space. That's that, with plants and ovals and walking tracks, etc. That's what I consider as open space. And I think we need to be protecting it for our future generations, definitely. But also have a little bit of a niggle about what Councillor Harvey brought up. If any report's been done, it should be accurate. So if it's 8 to 7, it's not accurate if they say it's passed. It must be accurate for us to pass it. And I don't think the figures were accurate in that situation. So in that case, I won't be supporting it. We've got to have accurate figures.
I'm going back now to Councillor Davey. Sorry.
Thank you.
She seconded it. Councillor Turnbull seconded has now spoken, so now I'm going to Councillor Davey because I've got no one else on the list.
Thank
so
you.
To sum up.
Thank you. Yes, it's a, and thank you all very much for your contributions. This is a complex document. It is, as has been, we've been told, it's something we've got to have to start planning, aligned with all of the other demands being made on our land and residential land and open space in Burnside. We're a growing council, but I think Councillor Turnbull said it well, as did Councillor Wilkins. Open space is open space. It's actually our lungs, and we want our trees to be maintained. We want our grasslands, our biodiversity sites, our open space, but we also have the expectations of our community that they want sporting facilities and recreational facilities, and that's our huge challenge, to balance all of those. So I agree, this isn't a perfect document, but it's a lot of work's gone into it, and I just think by including those policies, the key policies and the current management plans, and I take the point about Hazelwood Park not being any more important than anyone else, that all of those policies, which have been cited in the report on page 39 and 40, need to be actually referenced in the document, because it's a standalone document which will be on the website, which will be cited as we work through the budget, work through issues as they arise, like skate parks and all the demands that are being made on us for more tennis courts or more pickleball or more soccer courts, or we've got a huge demands being made. And this is at least gives us a start, and while it's a 15-year project, we've also got the specific policies. So for a strategic issue, we've also got the specific policies which will be addressed from time to time, and our community can have a say, as can we as councillors. So it's a huge challenge. I think this is a start. It's not perfect, but hopefully this will go down with our other master plans and in the layers of master plans to be managed and referenced and debated, and for our community to provide input. So hopefully you'll support this, and this makes clear what it is, and we can start moving through the process of the debates about what goes in and what gets funded and what doesn't, and then what we can apply to the state governments and other bodies for additional funding. So hopefully you'll support this. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now we move to item 11.2 on page 176. Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to support this motion that is on page 176, adopting option 1, being a land swap with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport. If you look at the illustration on page, 178, you'll see the piece of land in question that is owned by the City of the Burnside. It is the remaining piece of Main Street, Frueville, that at this current time, if you are in the supermarket, as I frequently am, I exit out of the supermarket into that area of roadway and turn right into the new crossing, which is Main Avenue onto Glen Osmond Road. And I have to say, most other people are doing the same. If they're not travelling straight down Main Avenue into Conyngham Street, they're exiting to Glen Osmond Road, left or right, via this new intersection that the City of Burnside has worked with the Commission of Highways and the Frueville Shopping Centre. It is important that this is finalised. We came back to this, I think I read February last year, we first were aware of this remnant piece of land that can be used. It can't be community land anymore because there are easements, sewerage easements and stormwater easements underneath. So the staff have recommended that we do a land swap with DIT, and you'll find the details on page 181. And I would urge you to strongly support this for all those reasons of safety, convenience, etc., etc. You've read it for yourselves, your decision. Thank you.
Councillor Davey, you're seconding?
Yes, yes, I'm happy to. I'll reserve my rights.
Councillor Jones.
I got a question. So it's called a land swap. So what land are we swapping for this?
Through the Mayor, the land that Burnside has received is the new interface with Glen Osmond Road. So that's the wraparound section that leads to the traffic lights, which provides the local road area network access that it formerly had.
So they've given us a road that we need to pay for, is that right?
Through the Mayor, Council has not paid for that road, no.
No, but we need to maintain it in perpetuity, is that correct?
That is correct. We also had to maintain the current road.
But we don't need to maintain it anymore because it's not in use.
Well, through the road closing process, several groups have requested easements over that, including a right-of-way for the Frueville Foodland shopping centre. They'll need to be able to maintain a free and unrestricted right-of-way, so there'll be certain requirements to maintain it in a certain condition to provide that access if council should retain ownership of that land.
But we've acquired an onerous liability.
That's another question. You might need to come back because I have got other people waiting. Councillor Jennings, you're next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Australia Day, whenever it was, when it was 47 degrees and I had to duck out to see someone, I popped past there and it was really surprising to see no traffic and no cars parked there. And it's quite a desolate piece of land, and if we do option one, the land swap with DIT, we can possibly beautify it and keep tradies, vehicles and other humongous people carriers off it, because my current understanding is that the Commissioner of Highways would be currently policing it, so you could pretty much park your caravan there and you would struggle to have any action taken. So I feel moving forward with option one with DIT is magnificent. Thank you very much.
Now, Councillor Jones, you can ask another question.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm going to... If you gave me something that I then had to pay to maintain, wouldn't you normally expect that you would give me money to compensate me rather than me handing over something to you worth hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Through the Mayor, I understand your point. However, it is a core function of council to provide roads for the community. We have, through that intersection upgrade, without a shadow of a doubt, have improved the upgrade of the intersection, has improved the traffic management around that area. The swap itself improves the interface with the rest of the traffic surface. We are now just simply managing a road in a different location to form that purpose. So we will continue to manage that in accordance with asset management principles, and it improves the traffic function around that area.
Councillor Henschke.
Question, Madam Mayor, through the administration, for the administration. Adding to Councillor Jones's theme there, that parcel that we're going to inherit, swap, it's gravel, and why can't the Department of Infrastructure hand over that parcel of land to us with a land swap in a different condition, say with some some plants on it or some work, improvements to it, because it's just a gravel piece of intersection, and with the project that they've had, I would have thought that they would have at least beautified that section of land and handed it over to us, ready for us to look after with some greenery on it, So at the moment we're just going to be inheriting a gravel patch of land that we've got to use ratepayers' money to enhance, probably. Can we negotiate something better? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, just to confirm, Councillor Henschke, are you talking about the green triangle section on under number 6 on page 178?
Yes.
That's actually not the land in question. So the land is to the right of that, the road. That's the road that we will now be responsible for. What the department would look to do would be amalgamate the blue section and the green section, and then we will work with them to determine the upgrade of that, but that would not be at City of Burnside's cost.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you. I just need to clarify an answer. So the City of Burnside used to actually have to pay and maintain for the previous Main Street road in that purple section. But since we're giving that away, or we're doing a swap, we will now have to maintain the similar sort of length section that's just a bit further south of that green triangle. So it's still a similar section of road that we're going to have to look after and have the expense, probably less expense because it's just been built, and we've probably got about 50 years before we have to do anything with that little section. But we still would have had to have maintained the exit road, whether or not it's the blue bit or the bit that we're getting. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor, that is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Can we go back to the state government and offer to swap the land for some land we actually want, like the Feathers Roundabout, for example?
Through the Mayor, that's a very ambitious thought, Councillor Jones, and I'm not sure that we would have much success.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Just a question. Is there anything to stop us? The point's been raised about plantings and softening it and cooling the area. Is there anything to stop us if we acquire this, and with all the easements that are on the site, that we can soften the area and make it part of our, cooler, greener and wilder landscapes that we're aiming for?
Through the Mayor, if Council proceeds with the officer's recommendation, that would mean Council takes on that road portion that's to the right of that green triangular section. We will be able to look at options like street tree planting where appropriate as part of that process. We do have to keep in mind sightlines and traffic safety, etc. The section that would be amalgamated to DIT, we would have to work with it to determine what that would look like, and I believe that it would become extra car parking for that, say, for the nearby shopping centre. However, so that's the administration's recommendation to council based on the process that we've undergone. We have provided 6 options there for council's consideration. We've assessed every one of them. So there's options available to council, but this is option 1 is the recommendation that we believe best fits the environment and the best outcome to council and its community, and responds to the road closing process that you undertook as a council, taking in mind the feedback that you received through that process.
Councillor Hallett.
The section of land is currently, I notice when I go there, that there's always cars parking on it, usually 4-wheel drives because they go over the curb. Is there a need for, it seems to me like there's a need for more car parking there. So would we be wanting to put plant trees in there when people are currently using it for parking?
Through the Mayor, I think that's a fair assessment. This would allow the formalisation of that and would tidy up the car park and provide better access into that car park, and it would stop the rogue parking that's happening as a bit of an overspill at this stage. There's always an opportunity for some planting, but there would have to be a balance against the needs of what the owner would like to do with that.
Councillor Jones.
I'm going to talk to the motion. 30 years in business, I have never seen such a terrible deal. If we were doing this deal with Kerry Packer, he would say, you only get one city of Burnside in your life. That's a reference to Alan Bond. You're probably all too young. But this is terrible. We have been given an asset for which we have to pay to maintain in perpetuity, which will cost us over its life, say it costs $50,000 a year to maintain, perpetuity value $1 million. And in return, we are giving away a piece of land that is conservatively worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time that we have just passed an open space plan 5 minutes ago that says we've got a shortage of open space in Frueville. We could take this land and we could use it as open space. And arguably it's not the greatest piece of open space in the land, but it is on Glen Osmond Road, so potentially at some stage it is going to be worth an awful lot of money. And then we own it and somebody needs to buy it from us, and we can reluctantly sell it and buy some better open space. So I have to say, I really feel no compulsion to do this terrible deal. So that's it.
Councillor Henschke.
I'll be brief. I agree with Councillor Jones.
Councillor Davey, are you wishing to enter the debate now? Or
I just have a question, if I may. I'm just thinking back to Constable Hyde Memorial Gardens. Where we did a land swap with the state government, and I think we were the beneficiaries, significant beneficiaries of that. I mean, we did a whole lot of trade-offs, I know, and we've been left with a beautiful park and asset which we maintain, but which our community uses and loves. Is it fair to say that we are always disadvantaged in these sort of deals?
I'm not sure I agree with some of the sentiments that we'd be disadvantaged in this deal, but however, I respect the opinions around the table. When it comes to the Constable Hyde situation, that was a valuable piece of quite a large open space in an area that didn't have a lot of open space, and I believe it was earmarked for selling at the time, perhaps for development at that stage, and it was a state government land. Council at the time identified some properties on open space that were used to house kindergartens, debt kindergartens, I believe at the time, debt kindergartens, and we land swapped 2 or 3 for the parcel of land, and there was a bit of a shortfall that we then had to pay out the open space reserve to cover that. So we swapped basically built assets, which retained the function of those assets, while we were able to increase the open space within in the suburbs.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I must be reading another report because I will be supporting this motion. We can't use it as community land. There is so many pipes underneath this bit, you couldn't plant a tree there. We're not going to be able to use this for open space. It's going to be used as a car park, number one. We're only swapping that. We don't actually own that other bit of, well, we probably own that little bit of road now, but we're swapping road for road. I don't understand the complexities with this. The state government should not own a local road. The only local road that I know that they own is the one that goes to Waterfall Gully, and that's because of some weird law that the state government has to be in charge of every road that goes to a water source for probably some emergencies or something like that. But they don't own local roads. Why would we not give them, or get the local road from them? Like, they could do something with it. And it's in swap for a bit that they just moved the road 20 metres to make traffic flow better. I don't understand why this is so complex. We can't do anything with this block of land. It's not really worth anything. No one's going to be able to buy it or build on it, not with the amount of easements that are running underneath it that have to tear the thing down straight away. Just support the motion and let's move on.
Councillor Davey, do you wish to speak?
No, I endorse everything that Councillor Cornish just said. So
Right.
there's nothing else that we could do other than, I think this makes best use of the area. In the situation we're in, it's very unusual. I'd like to see more trees and greenery if possible, but it's a very highly developed area. There's a huge busy shopping centre. All the businesses seem to support it, the locals. I haven't heard any objections from the locals. So let's just do it and support option one, hopefully. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins, are you ready to sum up?
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. I can concur with Councillor Davey. All parties consented to the road closure, etc. And in this instance, the wider public will not be disadvantaged. In fact, the public will be advantaged, and that's all across the city, because all across the city shops at Frueville. Because it will be safety that is primarily the reason why it is so good now. Before, when you tried to do a right or a left-hand turn on Glen Osmond Road, it was like kamikaze a death corner. And in fact, there was somebody killed on the other exit, which the shopping centre does not do now. But there was a person who turned right into Glen Osmond Road and was killed near the Archiper years ago. So it is an advantage for the wider public who use this centre. Better safety, better access. Sometimes, even now, there are at least 10 cars queued up to go and exit onto Glen Osmond Road. We need this crossing to be able for just common sense and safety for the community. Secondly, greening. There is already greening around there. The shopping centre has planted trees around there. In fact, can I give credit to the shopping centre? They have already trimmed off the basil growth from the base of the trees. Well done. And there is underplanting as well. And on the other side, there are already mature jacarandas that were newly planted last year, already making sufficient height, and there is also underplanting there. So they are good custodians. In the shopping centre car park, for instance, you'll find lime trees planted for shade. So I support and ask that you actually agree with me and pass this motion so we can do a land swap for public safety. Thank you very much.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Well done.
Now we move to item 11.4, Councillor Harvey. And it's page 221.
Yes, Mr. Chapley. Jones and Hedgkin.
The performance was outstanding.
Oh, sorry. It's
Thank you, Mayor. I move the report as recommended. The parking on our streets in Kensington Gardens and Erindale of wrecked cars by a local crash repair business has been ongoing for well over a year. I have been working on this for this time with residents who are understandably fed up having their streets littered with banged up cars that look like they belong in wrecking yards and a roller derby, not parked out the front of multi-million-dollar homes. 25 complaints have been received. Residents in Kensington Gardens are trying to sell a $4.5 million home with 7 of these wrecked cars parked in their street. And I have photocopied these for all the elected members to actually have a look at. So on the first one, there are 4 cars. They are all banged up cars out the front and in the car park. A white car banged up and a black car that is actually not registered now and has subsequently been, thankfully, moved on by the police, who I met with the other day. Unfortunately, council and police are actually powerless to get these banged up cars off the street unless they are unregistered. The legislation needs changing to give council more power to get these cars, some of which, as I said, are unregistered, off our streets. Over the weekend, I drove around Kensington Gardens and Erindale and counted 20 of these wrecked cars parked on our streets. They are easily identified with parts hanging off them, smashed in panels, missing, and sticky tape, yes, sticky tape, actually holding up the front ends of these cars. They also lack hubcaps, so very identifiable. I had residents approach me whilst in the park asking if there had been a terrible accident in the street with all these smashed up cars. I had 7 residents complain in one day, and since dozens of additional complaints have been registered, both with me, Jack Batty, Anna Finizio and Cressida O'Hanlon, who I might add has asked me to ask the CEO to copy her on this as well. One late afternoon, I came across a police car sent to investigate, as so many residents had made numerous calls to the police. The policeman I spoke with was also frustrated that they can't help council with this dire problem. He did put police tape on the cars to show our residents, the public, that the police were aware of this situation. These cars are being parked on Wilga Avenue, Kensington Gardens, where there is 2-hour parking for days on end. Currently, these cars on other streets can be parked indefinitely without any potential fine. Luckily, the cars parked on Wilga are now getting fines, and I drove past today and saw one with 3. This is causing safety concerns along narrow streets, with these cars being parked across driveways, inhibiting residents getting into and out of their homes. These vehicles obstruct traffic flow and street cleaning operations and compromise the beautiful homes and surrounds of our suburbs. We're currently like living in a ghetto. I support stronger action to remove these banged up, non-operational vehicles from our streets. I hope you will support the motion. Thank you.
And Councillor Dawes, you wish to second?
I wish to second, and I would like to start with a question of administration.
Right, that's fine.
And I'm referring now to page, what page is it now? 223, 8C Part 1. And I'm looking at Mr Cooper and Mr Heinrich here. The definition of abandonment, which is our main concern, Councillor Harvey and myself. Now, my question is, because lapse registration does not mean abandonment, you've said that in your definition, but who checks that? You know, it says there, if it's not connected to a nearby property and the owner cannot be located, who does that work? Is it the police or our rangers?
through the Mayor, that's work we can do. Through the motor registration process. So we can establish if the car's connected to a local property. We've got access to that information for legitimate enforcement purposes.
Yeah, I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Can you, a little bit. Who is the one that does the work initially? Is it the Rangers?
Yes.
It is, the Rangers, okay. And then they pass it on to the police. Is that what you're saying?
Through the Chair, the police, in relation to unregistered vehicles, the preference of the police is for the local residents to contact them directly. We can do that, but it's the police's preference that the locals do it.
Okay. All right. So can I now speak? I support everything that Councillor Harvey has said, because one side of Kingston Road is the Kingston Gardens ward, and on the other side is Councillor Turnbull and our ward. So I think it's been 2 years, I think, not 1 year, I think, Councillor Harvey, so I will correct you there. I'm looking at solutions, and if you look at what you have provided for us in paragraph 12, which talks about the New South Wales example, exactly what I think can work here. Now Jack Batty has been trying, I think, for a year. He's got nowhere. All right. But what I want to say for the administration, it's not just Burnside. You know, I was at Millswood the other day, and there's this car that's been there for 2 years, you know, with everything that you can think of. The other problem I have here is, and I don't want to say it openly, but the main cause of these problems in our 2 wards comes from one business, and I still can't believe that they're actually getting away with it. They've been fined on both Lockwood Road and Wilga, and so that's been, I think they've paid most of their fines, but they don't care. Obviously, they just don't care. So I'm fully in support of this. I think we put a lot of pressure on the Rangers to do things. I recall there was an abandoned vehicle on Godfrey Terrace, and we couldn't get it moved because the owner was in prison, and because the owner was in prison, the only way that we could get to that person was through his support person, and the support person hadn't yet spoken to him. So I just could not believe it, and that car was there, and it had broken windows. I think you might remember that one. Eventually it was moved, but dear me, it was 6 to 12 months of a lot of concern. But fully support what Councillor Harvey's put forward.
Councillor Wilkins.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. I absolutely support Councillor Harvey on this matter. I have actually driven down this street because I have a connection with Councillor Dawes here in Mile Avenue, and often go around to my favourite place for takeaway, which is right next door to this business. And their forecourt, which is part on the western side of the service station, is always chock full of works in progress. It is hideous, and it should not be the sort of business that is there on the main road in Erindale. Now, surely there must be some way they can be relocated, particularly with all these, and I've seen it earlier than 2023, I have to say, cars parked in streets around that particular suburb. So it is hideous. And I saw one the other night, which I thought, wow, it's not roadworthy, it needs to be off the road, and the more we can identify these problems, the better it will be. But there has to be, I think, a local government. It has to come through the government. And they need to get their act together and get these people who, I have to say, even if things were repaired, not sure that I'd want to drive them. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I've got a question, please. So I've got my car parked as a nuisance to my neighbour, who I hate. I leave it there for 27 days, and then I move it 5 metres down the road, and then tomorrow I move it back. Is that okay?
Yep, in New South Wales.
Through the Mayor, in the absence of anything that says otherwise, it is okay. But that could be where the detail there could be extra detail in the bill or the act that deals with that particular issue.
There's got to be a will to change the Act.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must congratulate Councillor Harvey on this. I too have had something very similar like this in Glenside, where we had a registered car that wasn't working. Had it parked across the road from the owner's house. The owner also had a couple of other cars. I got onto the internet and found out what this Golf's problem would have probably been, and it was a significant problem, and no one was going to spend $12,000 to get it going, to put it up on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace. So it just sat there, and I think I was in consultation with Magnus about this one, and it just sat there, and there was nothing we could do. And one day my partner jumped onto the internet and said, "Ted, that car's not registered." And then we could get rid of it. And all of a sudden, the owner jumped into action and realised his car was going to be put on the back of a truck and taken away. And he'd moved it within 36 hours. It was tremendous. So no, like having some good, some state government legislation put in so we can at least get on top of this, and I'll congratulate Councillor Harvey for this. Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I have a question. I'm totally in sympathy with this issue that the residents and the administration face. Is there anything that Consumer and Business Affairs can do? Do they register the businesses and put conditions on them for the businesses? Have we explored that option?
Through the Mayor, no, we have not explored that option, but we can certainly take that away and look into that.
Thank you. And may I have another question? We're getting, because this is a problem that arises from time to time all around our suburbs. Is it appropriate to put parking restriction, two-hour parking in or residential permit parking in to manage these problems? Are they solutions that in the short term, because while this is a great motion and I'll support it, it's going to take ages to be effective.
Through the Mayor, from my recollection is that our Traffic Department has looked into that particular option and done some surveys. But because despite the issue, the level of saturation of the roads is not high, it doesn't qualify under normal circumstances for that sort of approach. So they have looked at that.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. I'm very supportive of advocating for this. It is a rarish sort of problem, obviously not so when you've got a business around, but it's certainly an issue that does need to be addressed. There are some red flags with it for me. I've certainly had issues with FIFO workers, and it obviously teams up with state government planning with the number of off-street car parks available as well. So the more houses that we're going to being forced to obviously have in our streets, it's going to force more cars on the actual street, and then there are some employees that actually have to fly away for their work for 3-4 weeks at a time and come back on rotation, which I know has caused issues in some of my streets. And that might be something that the state government or the LGA looks at when they actually do the detailed work on this, but we're only asking and we're only advocating, which I think is very right to do so for our community. But apart from that, I'm fully supportive of the motion.
Councillor Jones.
I've had this problem a few times in Beaumont Ward, and so I support the sentiment, but I just don't think the New South Wales legislation solves the problem at all, because what's going to happen with this business is every 4 weeks they're going to give the apprentice a big bunch of keys and say, mate, you're going to shuffle all the cars around, and he's going to do that for the first couple of his hours of his working day, and then they'll set the clock again to 28 days. So I think what we need to do is to advocate for council rangers to have the power to fine people who they deem are engaged in nuisance parking. And that should be at the discretion of council rangers. Otherwise, what we need to have is pop-up parking meters, and just suddenly stick a parking meter and it's $50 to park there all day, and they'll soon get the lesson. But look, I can support this, but I can tell you now it's not going to have any effect, alas.
Councillor Davey?
Thank you. Yes, I absolutely support the motion and thank Councillor Harvey for raising it. But I do think this is going to take a long time if there is any action taken. So I'd like to see us see if there's anything we can do, any intervention with Consumer and Business Affairs to put conditions on the business and make them be much more responsible business owners, situated as they are in a very nice, accessible area. And I really do feel for the residents. I mean, it's their residential amenity, and who wants, you know, broken down cars, ugly, banged up cars in front of your $1 million property when you're trying to sell it? So we do owe them a responsibility. And I think in the interim, we should be putting into our parking, which I think is something we're going to have to look at increasingly across our suburbs for all the other, everybody's got this problem in their area. It's a residential area, so either 2-hour parking or residential permits to control the what's it called? Sorry, when it's not ambitious. People who aren't in the area who take advantage of parking and residential areas. So that would be my solution, in addition to what we're talking about tonight and moving tonight.
Councillor Head.
I have a question. What is the cost to council with this New South Wales model where council basically is going to be doing the work of state government and the police department? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, there's probably not going to be any real appreciable cost to the council. The council's already out there doing things in an enforcement sense. And in fact, there'd be some income opportunities as well through fines that could be issued that aren't able to be issued now. So under this model, for example, the council could fine an owner of a vehicle for having it parked unregistered, whereas that at the moment that rests with the police. So it's probably the financial. We haven't done that financial analysis, but it's not likely to shift the dial too much either way.
Yeah, I'll speak briefly, resonating with others here that the details of such a scheme would evolve. I'm pretty concerned about the FIFO workers. I'm concerned about the families who have a car on the road for whatever reason. We can't, assume that they're just dumping their car for 28 days. I think we're not Sydney, we're Burnside. It's not that big a problem. I know there's a big problem at that particular location, which is identified in this paper, but how big is the problem? And I think all that needs to be worked out before we start rolling out, quite tight timeframes a car can be on the road, unintentionally, so thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I have a question. Just to help with both Councillor Hinsky and also Councillor Jones, who've made comments. Mr. Hummett, could you just talk a little bit closer to the microphone, because I'm having difficulty hearing you. My question is, in the past, the state government have tried to put in some sort of rule about parking, etc., and they removed it. And I don't know about years and so forth. Can you just explain what they tried to do in the past, but it didn't work? And I don't know any more details than that.
Through the Mayor, I think that's a reference to the Local Government Act, which until 2016 provided that once a car's been on the road for 24 hours, the council can start proceedings to have it towed. Now that was revoked in 2016 and replaced with the system we've got now. My understanding was that there were one or two councillors at the time that were highly diligent about it, and it caused some issues such, for example, people might go away for a long weekend to Melbourne, come back and the car's gone.
Yes. Not good.
Which is not ideal. So in our view, the New South Wales model was not as severe as that and provided a bit of a better balance between nothing, which is what we've got now, and 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilkins.
Further question to staff. Have the rangers identified that the cars are unregistered when they're parked?
Oh, through the mayor, any person can do that. There's a facility through the motor reg where you can just punch it in and it'll tell you whether it's registered.
But if the rangers are policing and checking on them, can they identify them and actually, if they're not registered, can we then get them off the road?
No.
No.
That's through the mayor. Part of the issue is that there's a segregation of powers, if you like, whereas we're monitoring road rules and the police are dealing with the whole registration issue. Now, the police have got the powers to fine people for that. I'm not sure how often or not that occurs. Yeah. Very rarely would a car be towed because of that, so the police would normally talk to someone and then next minute the car's registered again. But that doesn't, unless the act has changed, that really doesn't help the situation.
Doesn't solve it.
Because the car's still there, it doesn't really matter in people's eyes whether it's registered or not. But if there are additional powers that allow us to fine it and tow it within a short amount of time, then that puts more of a penalty to having your car unregistered or unroadworthy.
Supplementary question. Who then?
No, you've had two questions.
Oh, sorry.
And I want to go back to Councillor Harvey now.
Okay, fine. I'll ask you later.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everybody for your input and suggestions. As for the 2-hour parking, there is 2-hour parking on Wilga Avenue and it does nothing to deter them. They park the cars there still, even though there's only 2-hour parking. And as I said, they have multiple fines on them. These cars are also attracting vandalism. They're already bashed up and getting further vandalised even more to, as I said, make them look even more like they belong in a roller derby. It creates safety concerns, it reduces visibility and negatively affects the appearance and livability of our neighbourhoods. Residents deserve clean, safe streets, and vehicles that are clearly unroadworthy or unused should not be parked long-term in front of these beautiful homes. I have had dozens of calls, even another 5 calls today from angry, frustrated residents who say their beautiful multi-million-dollar homes and lifestyles are being compromised and causing them untold stress, having these cars parked directly in front of their homes instead of them being able to look out onto their beautiful green space opposite. Who wants to look out onto these vehicles in Kensington Gardens or anywhere? Jack Batty even asked me yesterday where we were at, as he too is so frustrated with the whole situation. The business in question, for your information, was actually originally a car service business only, not a crash repair. It was bought out by somebody that has turned it into a crash repair place, and Councillor Wilkins is correct. It only has enough parking out the front for 5 cars, and let me tell you, they look like they've been in catastrophic car crashes. I'd like to thank Council for their assistance on this. It is frustrating for them as well as me and residents, and this business is just highlighting the angst in our community, and the parking restrictions of 2 hours being put on South Terrace or Lockwood Road or Godfrey Terrace or Stanley Street is only going to push these cars into further streets. So we'll have more residents that are completely upset like what we've got now. I do hope you'll support this and support our residents. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. I'm going to suggest that we have a 10-minute break at this point in time. So it's 9 o'clock. We resume at 9:10, unless there's any objections. Okay. we need to start again. I've got 7 people, have I? Yes, I've got 7 people sitting around. And it is a minute to go. I'm sorry, I was using my watch in the other room and it was 10 past by me, so by the time everybody gets here, it'll be 10 past. And we are moving on to item number 11.6 on page 265, Councillor Wilkins, Public Art Piece for Alexandra Avenue. There you go. And looks like I have a mover and a seconder there already.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'm happy to move in accordance with the recommendation. I think the audacity of being asked to provide 100,000 is, I just looked at it and said, no, 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 no. And we do not have that amount of money. And no, I don't agree, because the actual southern side of Alexandra Avenue, Prescott Terrace, is so important in itself as a historic conservation zone for returned soldiers and those who did not come back. It is just an iconic installation in itself. It does not need anything else. So, no, we're not sending any money. Thank you very much for your offer. We politely decline. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Happy to second this motion. I completely agree with the sentiments made. We don't need to be installing some artwork in this area. It is a memorial. Each one of our trees is a memorial. It should be a solemn place for remembrance of those lives that have fought and fallen for this country. I don't think it needs to be, made up with some art installation as well. I did think it was quite interesting that it was carried unanimously by the City of Norwood, and I also thought it was interesting that it was Robert Breer's motion on notice to the council chamber, this one. So reading that, I thought that was quite interesting that the mayor brought this to the council chamber over there, and it was moved and seconded by some councillors, but ultimately voted unanimously by all of the councillors at Norwood. Reading the report, those facts interest me quite a lot, knowing that our former councillor was also one in attendance. I had a look at the minutes who was in attendance that meeting, so there we go.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I endorse all of those comments that have been made by Councillor Wilkins and Councillor Cornish. And I have to ask myself, why would wouldn't $100,000 be much better spent on the Marriotteville Precinct Action Plan, which Norwood don't really want to front up with the cash for? I have to say that. It would be much appreciated if they did that, because this is a real safety issue and it's the junction between 2 councils, and it's really necessary that we get into that and get it done. But we can't if we don't have the support of Norwood, Payneham and St Peters. So I would far rather spend the money on that. Much as I love public art, the issue is this is a memorial site and it's its own artwork and cultural streetscape, and it's very important to Burnside. So this is a good motion. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to you, Councillor Wilkins. No comment. Happy for me to put the motion? Absolutely. Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we move to motions on notice, 13.1, page 320, the Burnside Council Workshops. It is Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor. The actual ethos report was not supported by Council in 2025. However, some of the recommendations were bundled together and were instituted, and one was that the workshops for council members would be conducted remotely online. They were trialled during the last few months of 2025. For some council members, and I'm one, this is a less than effective way of learning. We all learn in different ways, and I can concentrate better if I can watch and interact with the presenter. Face-to-face learning tends to offer interaction and real-time feedback, which helps communication and learning. Page 322.5 of the report states that the consultant notes that the recommendation would offer all members of the privacy and safety of their own homes or places they choose to work from. I repeat, places they choose to work from. I would choose to work from a face-to-face, in-person situation at council. This proposal for possible hybrid meetings preserves this. Council members could choose between participating either from home or from the usual workplace in the council premises where the presentation takes place. Hybrid meetings that offer this choice is now a very common practice for boards and committees post-pandemic. The technology is inexpensive and easily available. Dual chairs for the hybrid meetings are not required. Catering, and there should still be a budget line for this. If not, the cost will be minimal, and I'm happy to pick up something for you to eat if you choose this one. Council may well prefer to continue with remote meetings. My experience is that these are much less effective than face-to-face meetings, and communication and participation are diminished. Regardless, I think it's timely to reconsider this practice and to allow the option of meeting in person. I invite you to support the motion.
Councillor Davey, you're seconding?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm happy to speak now. I agree with all of the sentiments that Councillor Turnbull has raised and the top issues that she's raised. I think workshops and briefing sessions are very important and have specific requirements, very specific requirements under Section 90A of the Local Government Act. We also have, as CMs, have duties and responsibilities under the Act to, among others, ensure positive and constructive working relationships as members of the governing body. And I think one of the best ways to do this when we've got an issue or a problem or a challenge is to workshop it. We've found that in the past. I don't accept that you can do this online. We also have a responsibility to participate in the deliberations and activities of the council, and we've got to provide responsive and accountable governance, among other responsibilities we have. In all my years on council, this has proved to be the best way to do it. Workshops have proved to be the best way to do this. We don't make decisions at these, we're barred from doing that. But I think we really ought to give, in the last months of our council term, have a go at sitting down. We've got a big budget to come, a very important budget to come, and some big challenges and decisions we've got to make. And I would like to think that we could sit around the table and workshop them in a civil way, and I think we can, with good leadership and good promotion. I don't need food. I can bring an apple, and as long as I've got a drink, I'm happy. But I think we would benefit from really making every effort to sit around and have civilised workshops on important issues in the last 6 months of our council term. So I hope you'll support this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So in 2020, when the plague came to town and we all had to start working from home and using Teams, Cisco, Zoom, FaceTime, it was a really curious time, and a lot of people adapted and they were able to work around it. I, who am quite good with technology, all of a sudden discovered that I can't recognise facial expressions online. I cannot recognise if someone is smiling, and that all comes back to whatever it is I've got. But you have to adapt, and it's created a new world. We can now communicate with everyone worldwide at the same time. But what I'm more concerned is this going to, has this been costed by the executive teams? Like, because having two meetings going side by side, so let's say you're in the office and you're communicating with a couple of people who are off-site, preference is usually given to the people who are on-site because you're generally louder and you can make a bit more noise and you can be heard first, whereas people on a screen have sort of hit their hand up in the air, but you've got some loud somebody or other who's just talking about something else. So, I don't know. I'd like to hear everyone else's thoughts. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. Is Council aware of any other councils that only do online training because of psychological safety issues?
Through the Mayor, we're not aware of any. We haven't done the research.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm very happy to support face-to-face. For me, that's the best learning outcome. I hate online workshops, hate them. I like to be able to interact with the person who's actually delivering the workshop. And if you have something that you want to communicate, expand on, you can easily, quickly ask. I find it impersonal doing it online, quite frankly, and there's not the same interaction and camaraderie when you're discussing really important topics that we do have workshops on, and we need to do that to iron out small questions rather than the large big ones, and just clarify some understanding of the paper that we're reading. I think it's better doing it face to face. I am happy to turn up. If you're doing it online, I'm happy to turn up and sit in the room and do it with you. But, and don't worry about the food. That's incidental, don't need it. So that's my feelings on the matter. I've always worked best with face-to-face workshops, and I'll continue to do so.
Councillor Henschke.
I'll speak briefly. I won't support it because the officer's recommendation, the officers don't support this motion. So the officers have analysed this proposed motion. They've presented us with the risks and the costs already in this detailed paper. So the facts are there. I can't support it. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey, you're now asking another question or speaking?
I'll speak, thank you.
Okay.
I will support this and thank Councillor Turnbull for putting up this motion, and I agree with everything that's been said. I'd just like to know how we do the budget bids online. I think that would be very, very difficult, and I think that needs to be done face to face. And I think that elected members should have the option of turning up to do this face to face, and those that don't feel comfortable can stay home and watch it online. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you. I do support the. I would like to see that we continue with the online. I don't think it matters whether or not what your preference is. Personally, my preference is I like actually meeting face to face. The point that you're not dealing with is that it hasn't worked. People have been attacked, and even the people who have spoken here tonight have actually told council that they feel like their psychological safety has been impacted. We had experts come in. They said that it's causing people to be unwell, and we need to do something about it because we've got occupational health and safety responsibilities. And that's what I think counts. It's not whether you like it or you don't like it. It's that's the recommendation. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be able to be with each other and in workshops. And the important point for me is on page 322.8, where it said it's important to note the SIDS Council resolved to adopt these recommendations. There has been a reduction in the formal behaviour complaints lodged under behaviour management policy. That's your proof there. It's working. And I just think, it's not my preference, but it's what we have to do to protect some people who have been bullied and feel like they can't attend council. So that's the way it's got to go. We've got a responsibility under occupational health and safety, and that means we need to meet online.
Councillor Dodd.
I have a question for the CEO. Paragraph 16, you've made the statement, the administration remains committed to supporting council members or member. I'm going to use the word member here. This particular matter of having online workshops has particularly affected Councillor Turnbull, more than any other councillor. Is it possible, this is my question, is it possible that for Councillor Turnbull to be given a leave pass to attend in person with the staff during these workshop sessions?
Through the Mayor, it is possible, yes.
Councillor Jones.
Look, I think this offers a sensible balance. We had a management meeting at work today, and we had 2 people from Sydney join remotely, and most of us from Adelaide were in the room, and via Teams, I think it's doable. I find these hybrid meetings work quite well when there's more people physically present and then a smaller number remotely. I find when everyone's remote, the whole meeting just becomes very distant. I mean, I've joined some of these LGA meetings where there's lots of you online, and it just doesn't work as well as if you were physically present in the room, able to, talk to your colleagues and say, what did that person just say? Can you just clarify that? To ask questions, to feed off other people. We've had some great workshops where, somebody mentions something, somebody else mentions something, and then somebody else draws it together. It just doesn't seem to happen with fully online meetings. Maybe it will in 50 years' time, once we've died out, but at the moment, I don't think it works very well, and I think this is a reasonable suggestion. And look, Council, we're all here today in person. It seems, even though we've passed some stupid motions, I haven't got up and punched anyone yet. We seem to be getting on quite amicably. The Mayor's chairing the meeting. We're all going well. We all managed to have Christmas dinner together. There was alcohol involved, and I didn't punch anyone. So look, I think this is a sensible compromise, and I'll support the motion.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Does that mean that an exception for Councillor Turnbull relates to other elected members that would like to join Councillor Turnbull at the training as well? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, the current resolution that's in place would mean that, it could only be one.
Councillor Davey.
I have a legal question. I mentioned before our duties as councillors, which means that we, under Section 59 of the Local Government Act, which governs all of us, and it's pretty strong, says that we have to ensure positive and constructive working relationships as a member of the governing body, which is council. How does work health and safety legislation trump that, please?
Through the Mayor, while that is outlined, unfortunately that hasn't actually been occurring. So work health and safety and really is the strongest piece of legislation. And as we know, I have the responsibility for staff. It's very clear. And then what is the grey area is around what our responsibility is for council members. But there is a responsibility, and Satish Dasan, the principal at Norman Waterhouse, did the workshop with us. And there has been, and it's been articulated, the risk. And I agree with the sentiments around workshops and interpersonal interactions and having that is better. But it has not been happening with regard to every council member feeling safe and secure in the environment to undertake their workshops. And we went through the process, and there were many council members who articulated that their safety had been and their well-being had been impacted. And council made a decision to stop the to stop the face-to-face workshops to address the safety and well-being of council members. Now, that to me was a sensible decision. And from my perspective, I don't believe the situation has changed to the point where we can confidently say that people feel safe and their well-being would be protected if the workshops were to be resumed.
Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for the administration. Just to clarify, the understanding that in the past that there was such a thing called workshops, and that changed to information sessions where we cannot have workshop ideas anymore, making decisions for the community in workshops, indicating that or debating it. So can the administration clarify and confirm for the chamber that we do information sessions now, not workshops, and therefore these information sessions, as the paper spells out, can be done online because it's here in the chamber where we have the governance to do the debating, etc. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, you're half right. They are actually renamed to information and briefing sessions. However, back when they were referred to as workshops, they were not a decision-making entity at that stage either. So that part hasn't changed. The decisions are always in the council chamber, but then it has been renamed from workshops to information and briefing sessions.
I'm not trying to influence debate, I just want to say there is a difference in the way that this formalised council meeting operates under a stringent set of rules compared to how an information session operates, where there are no stringent rules. Wish to speak? If not, then I shall go back to Councillor Turnbull. Oh, sorry. Councillor Wilkins, you got a question to ask?
I have. Is there any reason why I can't attend at council to sit in on the information session in the room where everybody else might be online? Is there any reason why I cannot attend in person?
Through the Mayor, that was a similar question that was asked by Councillor Dawes, and that is that under what we currently have in place, you could have one. So one council member would be able to join, but that would be it.
Councillor Turnbull, back to you. Councillor Wilkins, turn your microphone off first.
What's happened? Thank you everyone for telling me what you really think, and maybe we should set some rules collectively for our information sessions instead, since nobody saying there's no rules and everyone can just go hither and thither and be nasty, etc. Maybe we should set some rules. Wouldn't take much to do that. I too, like Councillor Wilkins, hate online. It's much easier to read the room and to ask questions if you are looking at people like now. I can look around and see, I can see the boards, I can see whatever's happening. You can read the room. And if, for example, the open space document was a good example, if we could have had a workshop on that, a lot of the questions that I had could have been answered in much more easily. In summarising, I can only repeat the consultant notes that the recommendation would offer all members the privacy and safety of their own homes or places they choose to work from. And that's the bit, it's there. It's actually in the recommendation. We can choose where we want to go. And I want to go into the council, and so do some of the other people too. And why shouldn't we? We should have a choice. We need a choice. Hopefully, we've reset ourselves over the Christmas New Year break so that we can interact civilly if we do choose the face-to-face option. I, for one, really want to go back to the council premises with a face-to-face presenter where we can read other people's faces and talk things through, especially the budget bits. That's going to be hilarious, not funny. So I invite you to support this motion. Thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Division's been called. All those who voted for, please stand. Councillors Jones, Wilkins and Turnbull, and Jennings, Councillor Cornish, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Davey. Those against, Councillor Dawes, Councillor Henschke, Councillor Hallett, Councillor Zing, and I might say, even though I'm not allowed to vote, I'm against it too. And we have Councillor Henschke, first.
Thank you, Mayor.
You will be coming back though.
Yes.
Now, this is the last email of the day.
Thank you. On the screen, yep. So that council notes, War Widows Day is formally recognised in South Australia on 19th of October each day. That council nominates a Burnside War Widow Villa, known as Jean Rouse Villa, for provisional entry on the SA Heritage Register by 10 February 2026. That council approves the Mayor writing a letter of support for the state heritage listing of Jean Rouse Villa to the Heritage Assessment Council, the Minister for Climate, Environment and Water, the Minister for Planning, the Member for Bragg and the East Residents Association. That council pursues the local heritage listing of Jean Rouse Villa. That council notes that it is too late for Jean Rouse Villa to achieve local heritage listing for consideration as part of the current ACH development application to the SCAP. That council approves, if the ACH development application fails, to include Jean Rouse Villa in council's proposed local heritage places survey and code amendment process, which is subject to the 2026-27 annual business plan and budget process.
I'm not sure why we're discussing this, because this should have been put in a week ago.
That is allowable, but I haven't had a chance to say, will you accept this or not? So she has to have the opportunity to present this as an urgent business, just as we have had another one that we've already received that will be confidentially discussed. So please listen to this, and then we will have an indication as whether or not we support it or not.
So I can speak. Continue? Yes, thank you, Mayor. This motion has been prepared with the community. It recognises that the wishes of our community, we're speaking here for our community that are here tonight, that have waited all night to hear this motion And I apologise to Councillor Turnbull that she hasn't had enough notice about this motion, but things move very, very quickly when a development is underway. This motion is recognising that we have a very important heritage in our city, the War Widows' Day. A War Widow Villa. One is protected and one has not been protected. The community have applied to the Heritage Council for a state heritage listing of Jean Rouse Villa. We can do the same. We have a heritage officer who has the knowledge that can support this heritage listing. It's too late to list Jean Rouse Villa as a local heritage listing, but let's just pursue this. Let the community know that we support the local heritage listing. We cherish heritage in this city. We've always said that in all our strategic plans. We have been behind the 8 ball in this city. In all my council years, we have not listed one local heritage place. We had a budget cut last year where we should have started listing these houses and we didn't. We say because we didn't want to spend $35,000 last year. We have a program now in this next budget to keep finding homes that the community want to protect. We need to work with our community, see what they value and move forward with them. Once this villa is demolished, it is going to be a very, very sad day for our community in Rose Park. I've had residents here who have lived in Rose Park for 50 years telling me about other villas that have been demolished over the years. And that's really, really sad. For me personally, for the many people in the community to see beautiful stone villas demolished. Please support this. I'm sorry it had to come so late in the piece.
Councillor Henschke, I'll have to interrupt.
Yep.
You are only allowed to really present the motion, not speak to it.
Oh,
all
right.
Because first of all, we have to get an indication from the councillors as to whether or not they will allow this motion to be discussed tonight.
My apologies.
No, that's all right. I'm just clarifying for everybody concerned. All right.
Yep.
So now I need to find out if you are willing to listen to allow this to be debated tonight. So please indicate.
To listen to.
Yes. So we have 5 for and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, 1, 2, 3. But there's 6 for and 2 against, 3 against. You have a question?
I have a question, if I may. I'd like to ask the staff, is this a viable option? Is this something that's tenable and that we can actually be successful with, or will we be expending a huge amount of our funds as council on a wild goose chase? It's sympathetic as I am to the whole process. No one's made this designation or application before now. Is this a wild goose chase and is it of any value? Thanks.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question. Probably if we go through the 6 items that are there and make comment on each of those, that's probably the best way of answering your question. So number 1 is for noting only, so no issues from an administration point of view with that one. Number 2 nominates a Burnside War Widow Villa known as Jean Rouse Villa for provisional entry on the SA Heritage Register by the 10th of February 2026.
Can I just interrupt a moment? We need to have a second before we continue with the...
Okay.
We should have, before we asked questions and then answered. I was just checking with governance to make sure that I got it right before I interrupted. So do we have a seconder? Councillor Cornish, you're seconding. Okay. Now, Mr Cooper, you can continue with your answer.
Thank you. Regarding number 2, nominates a Burnside War Widow Villa for provisional entry on the SA Heritage Register by the 10th of February 2026. Is our understanding that East Residents Association have already started a nomination for state heritage listing,
and my understanding is that the first part of that process actually involves provisional entry on the register, if that's approved by the council, not us as a council, but the Heritage Council. So it's my belief that there is no benefit in terms of council doing that. It's already in act through the actions of East Residents Association. Number 3, approves the Mayor writing a letter of support for the state heritage listing. Absolutely, as many letters as can be possibly submitted. There's no problem with that, doing that at all. 4, pursues the local heritage listing of Jean Rouse Villa. Again, 5 links into that. It is too late for local heritage listing for consideration as part of the ACH development application to SCAP. When the development application is submitted, it uses the heritage listing or not at the time. So for all intents and purposes, it wasn't heritage listed. So from a local heritage point of view, that's having no impact on the SCAP process that's currently ongoing. Whether that process, whether the development actually goes through or not is quite a long process, because there can be appeals at the end of that development decision. So it's not actually closed until all those appeals happen. So it could be a while before we know whether that development application is successful or not. If it does fail, all of that and the appeals, then very much so, yes, it could be put forward as a local heritage listing. But I think our rationale around that is that it would form part of our prospective budget bid, which will look at the heritage listings right across the city and doing a code amendment for all of those rather than individual local heritage listing. Number 5, I've really covered off. Number 6, approves if the ACH development application fails. Local heritage places, yes, again, we can do that, but the recommendation would be it was part of that process that's in our proposed annual business plan and budget for next year. Thank you. Costs.
Through the Mayor, I think the budget bid we have in is for $165,000, but that's for the whole of the city and to nominate heritage places.
Through the Mayor, I'll be careful, because there's a confidential matter that this council would be aware of, so I won't talk about specific details. But my understanding is to consider both state and local and provide the investigation and to provide the relevant information available required to be successful through this process. You could be looking up to $20,000.
Through the Mayor, can I just add that at the special council meeting earlier this month, council approved, the council administration and council approved undertaking a representation to the State Commission Assessment Panel. So we are expending some of those funds there to actually help with some of this process.
Councillor Harvey. Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question, please. Had Councillor Henschke applied for this last year for both local and state heritage listing, would that have supported this situation now? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question. It would really depend on whether that work was undertaken, whether council approved to do that, those nominations for both state and local heritage. If local heritage or state heritage had been approved, then yes, it would obviously favourably impact the current situation that we're in.
Thank you. I have another question. My question is that this has all been so confusing with all the emails that have been going around, and I think if elected members are concerned about listing heritage, they need to be onto it. And this just seems like it's on the hop. It's not being supported by local heritage, and it seems a real shame. So my question is, what is the likelihood of this perhaps being supported by state heritage? Do we know? Thank you.
The State Heritage Act has a number of criteria that it uses to assess whether a state heritage listing is approved or not. It's my understanding that the villa would need to at least achieve one of those, meet one of those criteria. As to the detail behind that, I can't comment. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I didn't quite hear, Mr Cooper. As regards the motion now, point number 4, did you say that was of no benefit now? Because when I read that, to pursue, it indicates to me that we're doing something now. But tell me, I didn't quite pick, you said number 2 was redundant, I think. I can't remember what words, that's my word. Is number 4 also redundant? Because it's in number 5 and number 6, we do follow it through.
Thank you for the question, and apologies, my voice is a bit croaky. The issue of local heritage, in terms of the listing for that villa, if it was listed locally as local heritage listed at this time, then that would be an important consideration for the SCAP process that's currently ongoing. It's not heritage listed at the moment. So for the ACH development that's ongoing at the moment, because it's not already heritage listing, if it was made heritage listing tomorrow, it would have no impact on that development process.
Yes, but it says pursues,
so pursues.
So the residents would think, oh, well, we're doing something.
Yes, so pursues, if the intent is to pursue that, to try and protect the villa through the ACH development process, that's futile. It will not happen, okay?
So should we remove it? That's the question I'm asking.
Well, the issue then becomes whether you want to pursue it in the event that the ACH development application fails.
That's number 6.
That is number 6. It is covered off by number 6,
yeah,
correct.
So is it superfluous? That's a better word. Is it superfluous to the motion? I'm sorry, there's so many questions here.
Yes, you could, in my opinion, yes, you could get rid of number 4 completely. Yep.
Can then perhaps you be okay with that, mover and seconder, if we remove 4 and just made 4 and 5 instead of 4, 5 and 6? I would accept that as an amendment, well not an amendment, but variation, that's the word I wanted, thank you. All right, so we're leaving that one out. And number 2. Right. Now, Councillor Hallett.
Well, now that you've taken those things out, but I think it's, some of the argument has been that why wasn't this done before? And to me that seems pretty unfair because going back in the 80s when we did the original very, very thorough heritage survey, I don't actually know of anything that was actually then got heritage, that council pursued heritage listing for. I don't know, but it may very well have been that there are. But it seems to me, given that, and in regard to a confidential matter that I can't talk it specifically, but in that case, that facility was recommended for both state and local heritage listing. We then followed up with an independent study. They recommended the same thing. It got rejected by the state again, even though there were the experts, heritage experts, saying it should have been listed. So that left us in a position of, like this one, then pursuing local heritage listing. So I think it's a bit unfair to say that, it's too late. Nothing's been done since the 80s about progressing that survey, that heritage survey. I think that if it does fail, if SCAT rejects it for whatever reason, and it might be something like a tree, that it might actually reject it, then it is worthwhile then starting the process to register it. So I don't actually think that it is wrong. I think it's wrong to actually take out the heritage listing, because if it is rejected, then there is an opportunity to go ahead with the local heritage listing for it.
Councillor Cornish, you wish to speak?
I support the motion, and it does exactly that. It does provision if it does fail for us for some funding, and to go ahead with that local heritage listing of this house. It also, it improves our advocacy on this matter a bit broader than what our representation will be, and highlights that this is just a bit of a bigger issue. It was, and I thank the East Residents Association for sending out the link to the development and going through floor by floor of those plans. I don't know how many retirement villages need 3-bedroom apartments, restaurants, swimming pools. But a library and, well, I can understand a library and club rooms, but it's by the by, this house will be knocked down for a driveway. That's effectively what this house will be knocked down for, is a driveway. I think if the development application does fail, then I think we should do something to actually try and secure the heritage of this house. I do hope everyone here supports the motion. It doesn't commit much to us right now, apart from doing some advocacy and some free stuff. But if the development application fails, we are in full swing doing it. Noting, of course, that the development application was submitted by ACH on the 12th of December. So it's been sitting in limbo, where that means that our clock was up quite some time ago, and we have been chasing our tail on this. But that happens with development applications. You're not given a crystal ball sometimes and said, 12 months from now, someone's going to, propose a 20-storey building in Glenside. We don't get told that. It just sort of happens sometimes. So, yes, I do hope you support this motion. Thank you.
And 6 months ago, we had no idea what was going to be developed on this site, even though we knew that ACH had taken over War Widows. Councillor Henschke.
Okay, well, look, thank you. We've reduced this motion from 6 down to 4. I hope simplification helps people make a decision tonight to support this, as Councillor Cornish said. We really we value our heritage, and residents value heritage. We value the War Widows. It's recognised by the state, by the Malinowskis government, in fact, last year, that we will have a state War Widows Day. And here we have a site of War Widows, a site with a house, a villa, that was named after War Widow Jean Rouse. There's a wealth of history from these residents here tonight that have put information into the State Heritage application, if you would like to read it and inform yourself more of how passionate the community are about this villa and the women that have been so important to the history of our city. We do need to recognise these women, and we have to do everything we can to save this villa, a beautiful sandstone villa, which is pretty much identical to the other villa, which the local heritage listed, and for whatever reason, historically, wasn't listed. And we are constrained by processes, but we're doing everything we can tonight, as Peter Councillor Cornish said, this is not going to cost us anything. We're here speaking for the community that are here tonight and have been here at the special meeting of council. So thank you. I do hope you support this so we advocate strongly for our community.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Division's been called. Those who voted in favour, please stand. Councillor Jennings, Councillor Dawes, Councillor Henschke, Cornish, Hallett and Zing. Those against, Councillor Turnbull, Harvey and Davey. Now we have an item that Councillor Jones also wishes to draw to our attention. I'll let him also read out the motion. Oh no, we need to go into confidential first. No?
He needs to seek leave of the meeting to go into confidence.
Yes. So you've got to seek leave of the meeting to go into confidence first.
I would like to seek leave of the meeting to go into confidence.
Can I get some indication? Yes, please. Right, I think we have enough around. Thank you. So now you can read your... No, we've got to make sure that everyone's gone.
Do I need to read the motion?
Oh, we've got to turn the...
We just need to move the motion now to go into confidence.
Yeah.
So we need a mover for that motion.
Yeah. Councillor Cornish, can I rely on you to move that motion to go into confidence, please?
Sure, if Councillor Jones doesn't want to. Yeah, I'm happy to move it.
Okay, you move it, and Councillor Cornish...
Well, I do want your name against one of these motions one day, sir.
Yeah.
So mover, Jones.
Yes, move it, Councillor
I'll move
Jones,
to go into
seconded Councillor
confidence.
Cornish.